How's it going? My name is Dan. If this is your first time visiting the channel, I moved my family from the US to Sierra Leone in 2020 for the purpose of preaching the gospel. And on this channel, I give a lot of thoughts and lessons regarding how to teach the gospel abroad. But today, it's a super light video. I'm just gonna share with you what is my everyday carry. So if you've ever been curious about what is in the backpack of a West African missionary, then I got you covered. Let's get into it. All right, I'm gonna skip the boring stuff like the phone and the wallet and just kind of get right into it here. This is my keys. Right here is probably the only interesting thing on my keys. This is actually a container that holds a pair of hearing protection. When you're going 60, 70, 80 kilometers per hour down the highway, the wind noise is pretty intense and pretty exhausting. And so being able to carry that with me is pretty helpful. The next item here is my Benchmade pocket knife. This is one of my favorite pocket knives that I have. This is strictly utilitarian purpose. This usually goes on my pants or on my pocket. I don't really have an order of this. This is just a long sleeve shirt. It's really hot during the day, but in the morning, especially when you're on the bike, and in the evenings, I guess, it can get pretty chilly. And so this kind of stays with my backpack just for the early morning rides when I have studies or appointments at that early time. All right, the next item is another maybe motorcycle specific item. When you're driving via vehicle, you don't have to worry about things like getting rained on, but when you're on a motorcycle, it's really helpful to have a couple plastic bags that if you end up getting caught in the rain somewhere, you can put whatever it is that's kind of water intolerant inside a couple plastic bags. And I was stuck in the rain a couple times during the rainy season, and every once in a while there'd be kind of an odd, out of the blue kind of downpour that you didn't expect. And so being able to have some protection for that is really handy. All right, the next thing is my trusty large water bottle. It's funny that a lot of things that we're more afraid of, like malaria, different diseases, snakes, spiders, those are all things that are actually not nearly as dangerous as simply just being dehydrated with the heat here. And so it's a big focus of ours just to stay hydrated. Some friends of mine that have visited Sierra Leone have gotten heat stroke and looked pretty bleak there for a bit, and so that's just one thing I'm always reminding myself just to drink plenty. This, again, is another motorcycle specific item. These are actually inner tubes that are sliced into strips, and this is the common tool used for strapping things to the back of a motorcycle. And so if you buy something that's larger than you can fit in your backpack, a big box or something like that, you can just simply strap to the back. And so I always keep a couple of these handy. All right, the next container here, what do we got? Okay, we have glasses. And so we have one regular sunglasses, and this one is actually a clear one. A lot of times the wind and the dust can be very irritating to the eyes when you're on a motorcycle, and so having some of these is really helpful. Another thing, in a lot of the villages that are around town, a large industry is actually transporting sand for cement work. Cement work is one of the most common forms of construction here. And so a lot of these vehicles that you're following behind on the highway just have tons of sand on them, and being stuck behind a sand truck without sunglasses or without some sort of eye protection is really painful, really risky. And then these clear ones are anytime that I'm driving, obviously at night, which does not happen too often, but you still want eye protection when that happens. And so I always keep both of these with me at all times. All right, the next item is just my leather-bound notebook. This is just a kind of cover, the leather, and so I can replace the actual notebooks within it whenever they get filled up, which happens pretty often. So this is a place for me to take notes and get phone numbers, contacts, ideas whenever they come up. All right, well, getting into the large compartment, this, of course, is my Bible. You can see my high-tech Bible case here. This actually will offer more protection than most canvas or leather or cloth cases because, again, this one is waterproof, or at least it was before I have holes in it. So this is actually needing a replacement pretty soon. But again, here, water is the biggest thing I'm concerned about with protecting my Bible, and so keeping it in a Ziploc bag is just the way to go. This is pretty self-explanatory, simply a first aid kit. I have obviously a larger one here at the house, but also carry one with me just in case I encounter some trouble that could need some medical attention. All right, this is kind of my catch-all bag. Tons of different things in here. What do I got? I got pens, markers. I have these little vitamin C, kind of like, I guess they're kind of like cough drops, sunscreen, allergy, and Tylenol, hand sanitizer, fingernail clippers, chapstick. I guess I should share this here. This is just a small container of Kleenex. Though, to be honest, its primary reason for being in my backpack is an emergency situation where toilet paper is needed. I won't go into too much detail here. I'll just share that the locals don't use toilet paper. They use a different means. And if I'm ever in the bush or in the village or somewhere, it's very unlikely that they would be able to provide toilet paper. And so, obviously, in an emergency case, I would prefer to use this versus the means that they are accustomed to. And that's just obviously because of my upbringing and what I'm used to. All right, so this next item probably needs some explanation, and maybe more explanation than what I'm going to give right now. This is simply just a bag of the most random items, like really junk, like rubber bands, a cup, a string, an outlet socket, like the most random things. And this is simply a bag of props that I use when teaching Bible classes here. And so I'll talk about more about this in a devoted video, but essentially people here, they learn more through visuals and through illustration than through more literary methods of learning. And so this is just some tools that I have employed and learned how to employ in teaching people here. That's been really helpful. We're getting towards the end here of our little tour of my bag. This is simply just a bag of paper, of notes, that I can use when teaching mostly. And then this is a clipboard / dry erase board that, again, is really helpful when I'm illustrating, being able to write things down, being able to draw maps, draw characters, draw what things look like in the Bible. This is just super helpful in helping me illustrate in a more visual method some of the things that I'm teaching in my various Bible classes. All right, well, that's it. That's my everyday carry. Those are the things I tote with me on a day-to-day basis in my backpack. I'm curious to hear from you about what is something that I included that you did not expect. Leave that down in the comments. And also, feel free to make a suggestion for me, something that should be added into the everyday carry. That's all for now. I'll talk to you next time.